Hi, it's Ary Rosenbaum here with another class of that 401k University. This class topic is going to be about developing a hook. And let me tell you a story. I started work with a semi prestigious law firm on Long Island. We'll call them Meyer Suozzi English Klein. And the goal as a young associate attorney was that I would develop a national ERISA practice. And the idea was, since we were considered at that time a very good regional law firm, especially on Long Island, that I would help develop an ERISA practice for single employer plans with our existing clients. We represented quite a few well-respected Long Island businesses, as well as businesses in the city as well. The only problem was I couldn't generate any interest from our law firm partners, and it didn't make any sense. And to this day, it still doesn't make any sense because the way partners were paid was not only on their billings, but also on their clients as the originating attorney. So if you were an originating attorney as a partner, you would get 50 cents on the dollar of all billings for a particular client. So if I decided as an associate that I wanted to offer ERISA services to one of their existing clients, that originating attorney would get 50 cents of every dollar that I ever billed. I would get nothing. Um, as a fan of capitalism, it just made complete sense to me that they would be interested, and they weren't. Unfortunately, that firm was built of adding all these solo practices under their roof. So it was all these little fiefdoms. And people who were partners in the firm were very protective of their clients. They didn't want me to touch them because they just didn't want anyone to touch their clients. So as an associate, with very little work to do, I realized very shortly that I had to do something to generate interest. I offered my services to advisors that I knew through my experiences working for TPA firms, and told them that I can draft plan documents, I could draft amendments at a lower price than I could when I used to work at that particular TPA. And one day, an advisor point blank said to me, "That's great, but what's in it for me? I refer you as an ERISA attorney, and what's in it for me as the advisor?" And I realized at that time, you have to look at how other people see things. You have to understand that in order to get referrals, again, the retirement plan business is a relationship driven business. And if you want to get something, you have to give something. So that's when I realized that the only way to generate business is to help other plan providers out. And that was by producing content that advisors and other plan providers such as TPAs and auditors could use in generating business. So much of prospecting and meeting with potential clients, you have that client who, potential client who will say, "Oh, you're just telling me this." And so my articles to me were a conversation starter that other plan providers could use in generating business. For example, everybody talks about my TPA payroll provider article over the last 11 years that I've drafted them. And as people say, you shouldn't use, those two top payroll providers as your TPA. And if you're a TPA salesperson and you tell a potential client that, the potential client says, "Yeah, you're just telling me that because you want my business." But then when that TPA takes my article and says, "You know what, don't listen to me. Yeah, I understand. I'm trying to get your business. Look what an ERISA attorney is saying, an independent ERISA attorney, and he's saying the same thing I'm saying." And that was the whole idea. You need to, in your business, to develop a hook. And that hook is to generate referrals and interest from plan sponsors. So many years ago when I was at that law firm at Meyer Suozzi, that's how it all started. Now, of course, the only problem was we had a marketing department which only had 3 people and a bureaucracy that would only allow me to produce so much content over a certain period of time. I want to say over a 2-year period, I only produced 3 or 4 articles because it would take 6 months to get approval from so many different levels of partners. But that's another story for another day. And as a plan provider, you need to understand that you need a hook, a need to generate interest. And that hook could be producing content, or that hook could be speaking in front of different organizations that have um, retirement plan sponsors. But it really is one of those. You know, there is no set. You will find certain things will work and certain things won't work, and that's fine. But you also have to realize that even with your hook, it takes time because, again, like I said, the retirement plan business is a relationship-driven business, and great relationships don't happen instantaneously. It takes time and it takes trust. Some of my favorite people in this industry, the relationships just developed over a phone call and continued phone calls and continued emails. It doesn't happen instantaneously like that person who reaches out to you on LinkedIn and says, "Oh, buy for me." And it doesn't work like that. And I think that it's important to realize that it's a long-term game and a long-term game plan that you need. And I think the first things first, when developing my practice that, over time became successful, was developing that hook. And I learned how to develop that hook at Meyer Suozzi. Of course, um, I made it more profitable on my own, but that's because I had the opportunity and time to produce content that I didn't need, 4 or 5 levels of bureaucracy to approve it. But again, that's another discussion for another day. So I hope you enjoyed this second episode of that 401k University and tune back for another one. Thank you.